Ladies and gentlemen, again this morning, the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum has announced that Dick Enberg has been named the 2015 Ford C. Frick Award winner for Broadcasting Excellence. Dick is the 39th winner of the Frick Award in its history. He will be recognized as part of Hall of Fame Weekend 2015 with the awards presentation on Saturday, July 25th at Doubleday Field, and a Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Sunday, July 26th in Cooperstown. He is the top vote getter of a 10-name ballot that was advanced to the Frick Award Committee, and we are so honored in Cooperstown to welcome him to the Hall of Fame family. And since we happen to be in his hometown, he's gracious enough to be here with us today, take some of your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, 2015 Ford C. Frick Award winner, Dick Enberg.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Glad to hear you say that. Now it's official. You can't change your mind. The final 10, when you consider the other 9 candidates, the honor, the privilege of being named to this prestigious award is truly overwhelming. When I received the call about 8:30 this morning from Jeff, it took me to my knees. You know, baseball is part of my DNA. I have a picture here of as a 1-year-old where my dad teethed me on a baseball bat, and my grandfather, who owned a little grocery store when I was 4 years old, would prompt me with baseball trivia, and if I could repeat it later, then I could go into the grocery store and he'd give me some Superman bubble gum. I dreamed about playing right field for the Tigers. I was 18 when they signed Al Kaline, and he took my job. Baseball is, I think, for everyone in this room that has loved the game, is family, and this award takes me all the way back to my youth and my dreams. As my high school friends and college friends, I never made it past JV baseball in college, said, "Enberg, you always thought you were a good player, but you only talked a good game." So it worked out okay. It takes you back to the men that taught you how to broadcast a game, even though you didn't know that that would be your role someday. And the national announcers as a kid were Red Barber and Mel Allen, and I grew up with Van Patrick being the voice of the Tigers, and then the great Ernie Harwell. And living in Los Angeles when I took the job with the Angels, it was Vin Scully and our own Jerry Coleman, who received the Ford Frick Award 9 years ago here. And it's all the great baseball stars that I've met, including my hero, Ted Williams. Being able to rub shoulders in a booth with Don Drysdale and Tony Gwynn, Mark Grant here with the Padres, and those I've been able to interview and know. This is, other than the birth of my 6 children, this is one of the greatest days of my life.
At this time, we'll take some questions. Patrick will have the microphone. Please wait to be called and identify your name and affiliation. We'll start, Dick, on the far left.
Yeah, Lee Hamilton from TV6. Dick, congratulations.
Thank you.
Your signature has been "Oh My." Did "Oh My" come to your mind when you got the phone call this morning?
That was certainly an "Oh My" moment. "Oh My" came from my mother, who used to say it often, usually in dismay at something that I had done or encountered. A nice Midwestern term. It's a term of acknowledgement. You go to the marketplace in the Midwest, and folks will be talking about, "Did you hear about the Jones boy? Oh my, is that right? Or how about the game on Saturday? Oh my." And so it's been a good friend of mine that I've used when I can't think of anything else to say, and certainly this morning, as my wife said, I was blubbering too much to really verbalize an "oh my," but this is that kind of day.
Next question, Dick, to your far left.
Yes.
Dick, you come from the era of the big personality broadcasters. Do you think, is there a general lack of the big personalities in baseball broadcasting now, and is it possible that's a product of what marketing departments want in the game?
Well, I think it was more important when baseball was our companion in radio. And radio allows us to use our imaginations. Television gives you the punchline immediately. And so as you go back 50 years, that baseball announcer in your hometown was your close friend. He was in your house or in your garage or in your car more than anyone else. And so it had more impact, and you associated your team with the announcer who called the games of your team. You know, Harry Heilman was the announcer when I was 12 years old in Detroit, and he would recreate games on Western Union at the Pantages Theater in downtown Detroit, and that was a real treat. Dad took me down to see Harry Heilman in this little booth call a game off Western Union. So yes, it was much more powerful than it is today, and it's also diluted today. You know, there is so much more of baseball, whether it's your local telecast or your national telecast or your national news, your cable coverage, and all the rest. You know, this isn't the answer to your question, but it was one asked to me earlier. Baseball is the most demanding and most compelling and most intimate game of all the games, in part because, counting spring training, you're doing 200 games, 200 exposures. And because of the pace of the game, there are times when the pitcher doesn't throw the ball and the batter doesn't want to get into the box, and the game isn't very interesting, and you have to call upon humor or history or other elements that for which you prepared, all of which makes it a more intimate experience between you and your audience. And if today, and baseball on radio is by far the toughest test of any professional sportscaster of any sport. So if you can do, and this is my answer, that if you want to know who the best broadcasters are in sports, go to radio and listen to those that do baseball well on radio. If you can broadcast on radio a baseball game well, then you can call any other sport well. I could teach you to do well in any other sport.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the center, Barry.
Hey, Dick. Barry Bloom from
Hey, Barry.
MLB.com, and obviously, warm congratulations. Your eyes look a little red, and you mentioned you were blubbering. How emotional was this for you?
Don't get me started, Barry. You know, people have accused me of crying at a red hat, but we go to movies and I'll start shaking and getting teary-eyed. My wife, with her tough Polish background, will give me an elbow in the ribs and say, "Come on, get it together here." I'll be 80 years old next January, in a couple of weeks. And for 80 years, I've loved this game, as far as back as I can remember, being teethed on a baseball bat. And to have this as a culmination of my professional life and my love for a sport, it's too good to be true. And especially in light of those who are so qualified to earn this Ford Frick Award. I mean, I really, to make the final 10, I was very excited. I mean, that was a wonderful victory and a privilege to be on that same list with those other gentlemen. You think about Ralph Kiner and Joe Nuxall and the others. How does it get any better than this, huh? And I hope it's some commendation for not wanting to get in the way of the game, but allowing me to be a docent, if you will, in my reportage, that if somebody tuned in, they didn't tune in to hear me in any sport, much less baseball, but they hoped that when they heard my voice, that they would get an honest, well-prepared, passionate approach to the game. And that has always been my goal, and in a way, I accept this honor today as saying, hey, Enberg, you hit a grand slam.
Right in front, Bill.
Hey, Dick, Bill Madden from the Daily News.
Hi, Bill.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll always think of you with the Angels, associate with the Angels. Pardon Padres, but I was just wondering, how much of an influence was Gene Autry on your life?
Mr. Autry was like a second father. You know, he loved the game dearly. He was in the clubhouse almost every game, and he'd go from cubicle to cubicle, and not only in the Angel clubhouse, but in the opposing clubhouse. He kept score even down when he really couldn't see. He would sit up there at 90 years of age and have his scorebook out and have somebody nearby, and he would hear the sounds of a play, and he pretty much could guess it was an out or a hit, and he'd say, well, was it 6-3, Cowboy? And he'd write in 6-3. Maybe the most difficult time of my life was I went through a divorce while I was an Angel announcer, and during the process, a couple of months into the season, I was doing games, and I'd say, that's the story from Anaheim Stadium, and good night, everyone, and I'd be walking out of the booth and wouldn't remember anything I've said. My mind was one place, and I was trying to describe and do my work another. And so I finally went in to see Mr. Autry to apologize for my effort. And I went in to see him, and I said, you know, I'm going through this divorce process, and I know I'm not at the top of my game, and I want to apologize, and I hope you'll be patient with me, and I'm going to be better. I'm going to get it back together again, but I hope you'll stay with me. And Gene, in his own way, said, well, Dick, you know, he said, I was going to have you come into my office because I was going to tell you that knowing you're going through a divorce, you're doing a hell of a job. And that was Mr. Autry. Yeah.
Dick, Jesse Spector from Sporting News right in front of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to know what you feel the difference is between calling a game locally where, you know, the viewers get to know you over the course of a season and years versus doing one nationally.
That's an excellent question. It was one of the tests when I left the network to take the Padre job 5 seasons ago. And after doing a couple of games, I remember Matt Kemp. It was a game with the Dodgers, and Kemp in the late innings made a diving catch racing into shallow left center field, backhanded the ball in the 8th, 9th inning that could have won the game for the Padres, but with his defensive play, won it for the Dodgers. And I naturally blurted out, my training as a network announcer is right down the middle, no bias. You just want the game to be good, and if it's an lopsided game, you hope the team behind catches up to make it a more interesting game. And I blurted out one of my oh my's on a Kemp catch, and I was called into the office of management a couple days later, and they said, we're getting some phone calls from Padre fans that you're a little too friendly for the opposing team. What do you mean? He said, well, and they brought up that as an example, and I said, but that was a great catch, and it deserved that. He said, well, it'd be nice if you could use those oh my's on the Padre team and call that a bit different way. And if your home run call is touch 'em all, use that for the Padre home runs, but you don't have to be quite so excited for the opposition. It kind of took me aback, because that isn't how you're trained on a network level. But I understand that. And when you think back to the announcers in your hometown, I think immediately of Harry Carey as being one, you have to show your bias for the locals. I mean, you are the voice of your hometown team. And so I consciously have tried to alter, not dramatically, my approach to calling the game based on whether that play was one made by the home team Padres. Hey, I've lived here half my adult life. I mean, I'm proud of that San Diego across the front of the jersey. This is a great place to live, and I'm privileged to be able to be the voice of their baseball team. Yes, it is different. You could leave a network game, get in the car, head for the airport, and say, gee, I think we did a good job. It was a good game. It was close. It was interesting. Quite in contrast, you leave a game where you lost a heartbreaker and gave up 3 runs in the 9th inning, and you're driving home and saying, it colored the whole day and night because the home team didn't win and lost in a heartbreaking manner. So yes, there is a difference.
Dick, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
At the beginning of your speech, you rattled off a lot of names of broadcasters and stuff like that. Has it dawned on you that you're now a very special fraternity with all these names that you talked about, the Harwells, the Scullys, and everyone else like that?
Yeah, it really is hard to imagine. I mean, I'm a dreamer and have been going all the way back. I mean, I wanted to be the athlete. I wanted to be that person. Lucky enough to be able to talk a pretty good game. And I've been lucky enough to receive a lot of wonderful honors in my life. But the investment that I have in this game of baseball, going back to being a young boy, is more than any other sport. And to be honored on that list of great voices, those that taught us all how to do it, the pioneers of this game. And still, the redhead up there in Los Angeles is the poet laureate of our business. And to be able to still hear him and how great he's able to help us to enjoy this wonderful game. To even be considered on the same list or in the same sentence, I mean, it's an ultimate honor.
Brent Ashcroft from WZZM-TV in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dick,
Oh,
congratulations.
Michigan, thank you.
Yes. You mentioned here a little bit about the influences that have led you to this great moment. Can you just talk about how Mount Pleasant, Michigan and CMU played a role in you getting to this day and being a Chippewa?
Good. A plug for the Chippewas at Central Michigan. I will tell you that my very first baseball broadcast was for the only station in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, WCEN. And they sent me out to call the local town team in a town called Rosebush that's north of Mount Pleasant. And the Mount Pleasant Green Sox were playing another team. And I had all the big equipment, and I'm all excited. This is the first baseball game I'm actually going to broadcast on radio. It lasted 1 inning. One of the players in the bottom of the first inning broke his leg sliding into second base. They only had 9 men, so they decided to call it off. So that's how my career began, with the broadcast of a 1-inning town team baseball game. So it's come a long way from there. And it was, I applied at that radio station for the custodial job at $1 an hour, because that was the best paying job on or off campus as a Central Michigan student. And the names you remember going back that far. Russ Holcomb was the general manager of the station. And I went in, I said, I want to be the janitor. I worked one summer at a Detroit factory, and I know how to handle a mop and a broom. And he said, hey, Enberg, you got a decent voice. And I'd never been in a radio station, put me in a little broadcast booth, gave me a 5-minute news summary and a couple of commercials, and he turned on the tape recorder. I said, don't I get a chance to look it over first? He says, no, let's just see what you do. And so I went to Central, and I was a junior, and I could read. And so I read the copy, and 3 weeks later I get a call to come in, and he says, you got the job? And I said, where's the broom closet? He said, no, we're going to hire you as our new weekend disc jockey. I mean, I didn't even know how to turn on the turntables. I mean, the records would go wow every time I was the disc jockey. But my eyes brightened. I said, oh, how much does that pay to be the disc jockey? He said, $1 an hour, same as the custodial job. So that's how it all began. And then 3-4 weeks later, the sports director left for whatever reason, and they knew of my passion for sports, and I was suddenly doing a 15-minute sportscast every day as a college student, calling the college Central Michigan and high school football and basketball and 1-inning baseball games. So the good fortune that somebody heard the voice and said, let's give this guy a chance. And there's probably a very good custodial job waiting for me down the line.
Hi, Dick. Patrick Saunders, Denver Post.
Hi, Patrick.
How are you? Congratulations, first of all. You've done just about everything in sports broadcasting, from NFL, the Olympics, basketball, Final Four, everything. Why baseball? It obviously touches your heart so much. Why this game above the other games?
Well, it is the best announcer game, and it's, as I said before, not only the passion that I have, that it's in there, the DNA, the fact that it's, I think Harwell said it's opera without music. It's the poetry of this game. There's so much more that gets deeply into the soul of man, than the other sports. The other sports, they certainly are eye-popping, and basketball and football and frantic, and it's all there. But baseball has its own wonderful slow pace that allows you to really absorb its beauty. And folks here in San Diego will attest to the fact that I love the double play. It's the one, you know if you go to a baseball game, basically you're probably going to see at least one double play or more. And when you think about in this game that in a matter of 4 seconds, a ball has to be struck, fielded by someone cleanly, thrown to another player cleanly, caught by that player, trying to avoid somebody trying to knock him into left field, and make another throw to a first baseman, and he makes the catch. And in 4 seconds, you've created 2 outs, and there's a beautiful ballet right in the middle of all of that. And that the double play symbolizes, in my mind, the one play that tells the story would be the cover page of the baseball book and why you should love this game. And it gives you a chance to absorb it and talk. My great-grandfather could come back and see the Padre opener, and I wouldn't have to explain an awful lot to him. He would understand the game, and it's maintained that consistency and its beauty. It really is a wonderfully beautiful game. I mean, football has its, I guess you could say, the beauty in certain corners, but it's a violent game, a collision game, a manly game. Basketball has great athletes, perhaps the greatest athletes, but it's back and forth, catch your breath, but little time to express how you feel about it. I guess that's really that's the answer. Baseball gives you a chance to express what you feel about the game. Not only call the ball, as I was taught, my very first broadcast with the Angels, Fred Haney came in and said, I heard you in spring training, Enberg. You're going to be just fine. This is 1969. And Haney was the broadcaster, the old PCL when I grew up with the Angels and the Stars. Said, I'm going to give you a little piece of advice. Report the ball. Don't tell me what you hope it'll do or think it'll do. Just report the ball. Of course, we've advanced beyond that. That was an old Kennesaw Mountain Landis dictum. He said, and I won't come back in the booth. I just want to give you that piece of advice, which was really a good one, because when you can't think of anything else to say, the ball will take you to something to say in every sport. But to have that time to really feel what you're talking about is unique to baseball.
We have one more over here at the far left.
Dick, how have you stayed contemporary? How have you stayed relevant? How have you ignored people trying to push you to the side because they know you've had a great career and they want to take your job away? How has that all manifested itself to you staying the great broadcaster you still are?
Well, it's going to happen. It happens to everyone. And the first clue is when you get a Distinguished Lifetime Award. When you start getting those, you know that the clock is ticking down and your time is about up. And I just, because I've lost both my younger brother and my younger sister this year, I'm feeling my mortality more than ever before. There's never been a man on his deathbed who said, I wished I'd worked more. But my dilemma is, well, I'd like to go on and expand and do other things and travel and with my wife, maybe write another book, maybe go back and teach. That's a thought as well. My job with the Padres isn't work. It's something I enjoy doing. I love waking up in the morning knowing I'm going to go to the ballpark and I have to prepare for a game that is going to have a totally different script from all the thousands of other games I've seen or called. So that is the tug of war that personally that I'm going through. And whatever, I do want to leave on my own terms before they say, hey, Enberg, he's really lost it here. We got to move forward. So this being the high point of my broadcast life today, we'll have to go on and think from there.
Do you have one more on the far right, Dick?
Dick, Jeff Rieger from the Tigers Flagship Network. How you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you.
You mentioned Ernie Harwell a bunch of times, and obviously you know the legend he is in Detroit. Can you just kind of talk about how he influenced you?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was coaching and teaching at Cal State Northridge, San Fernando Valley State College then. It was a very young university. And Harwell and the Tigers came to town, and I boldly, they stayed at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, I boldly called the hotel and asked if I could have Ernie Harwell's room number. And they rang it through, and Ernie answers the phone, and I introduced myself. He could care less who I was, but I said, I'm from Armada, Michigan, and I grew up being a Tiger fan, and I'm here coaching baseball. And my hook was, I'd like to take you out to dinner, as if that really mattered to Harwell. He said, you'd like to take me out to dinner, would you? He said, yeah. He said, well, I'll go out to dinner with you. And so I did take him to dinner, and of course, the result of that was exactly what I wanted. And Mr. Harwell said, well, do you want to go to the ballpark tonight? They were playing at Dodger Stadium against the Angels. Do you want to go to the ballpark tonight? And I said, oh, could I? And he said, well, you could sit in the booth with me. Oh, really? And so that was the best dinner that I've ever bought for anyone in my life. And then he got to know me, and whenever he was in town, would invite me to be with him. And we've done some other events together. And again, you talk about the poetry and the care and the passion of the game. Just look up Ernie Harwell. He personified just that. Thank you, everyone, for caring. This has been a beautiful day.